Okay. Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm joining us a little late today. I got distracted at the office. I apologize. It happened. On another note, yesterday was quite humorous. Yeah, that's a story for a sitcom, let me tell you. Life happened to me. It was my turn. Yesterday's a pretty good story. Okay, let's not go there. You guys all got me now. Hello, everybody. I know you're going to bombard me with a butt ton of questions here, so let me try to head them off at the pass. The moratorium for LA County ends tomorrow at midnight. The new, ordinance for the city of Los Angeles kicks in on June 1st. Got it? Okay. And now we are going to start seeing a lot of municipalities coming up with their own bureaucracy and bullshit, just like they did in the beginning of COVID. Remember in the beginning of COVID when all the little cities were doing their own, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I wanted to rip my hair out because it was really hard to keep track of whose woo was what. We're back to that. And I come with not the best news regarding it. All the municipalities now have the capabilities of setting their own bureaucracy and BS regarding rents, COVIDs, etc. I can let you know that the mayor of LA is very adamant about not contributing any more to the homeless population. So they're biting at the bit to get tenants to stay. And we're chomping at the bit to get them out of our properties because we're not a bank, we're not a charity case, and we can't allow them to continue to hold our investments hostage against us. It's gotta stop. So as nicely as I can say this, the fat lady is singing and will continue to sing. If I could tell you something, let me tell you this. For those of you in LA County, please realize that the pandemic protected period ends tomorrow. So going forward, if you are asking for rents, you might not want to include the ones during the pandemic. So you're not inviting the pandemic to your eviction trial. If they can't pay you $5 and they owe you $5,000, it's not going to hurt you to ask for $5. I hope this is making sense to you guys. Stop chasing the money. Fight for possession. Municipalities are coming up with their own bureaucracy and bullshit. We've seen it in Pasadena with Measure H. The city of Inglewood has implemented their own BS that runs very similar to the city of Los Angeles, meaning you need to register your units in the city of Inglewood, even single family homes. Rental properties. So we're starting to see a lot of the municipalities come up with their own rules. So you guys are calling me, hey, can I raise my rent? Hey, can I do this? I'm not going to do it until April Fools. The reality is I then have to wait until tomorrow to see if your city passes something at the very last minute. And then I have to Google it by the city. So if that's what I'm doing, you guys can do the same thing. Just saying. Ding. Okay. Remember, all the little municipalities can come up with their own stuff. We have special rules in Baldwin Park, including rent increases, and the maximum increase can only be 3%, period. End of report. Never to exceed 3%. And that's in the city of Baldwin Park. That's their rent control measure. Okay, each individual city has the capability of coming up with their own. So for the next couple weeks, it's going to be a little dicey trying to figure out what we can and what we can't do. As far as rent collections and moving forward, stay with April, folks. Remember, if you include March, you're including COVID. Make sense? I'm trying, you guys, I really am. So my opinion is on April 4th, the 4th of April, that's when I would serve a 3-day notice for just April's rent if it's not paid. Why is Patty saying, wait till the 4th? Because that's the first day rent is delinquent in the month of April of 2023. The first is on a Saturday. The banks aren't open, not all of them. Some of them, yes, not all of them. The court says that it has to be on a business day. The first day rent is due, the bank has to be open. Okay, not all banks are open on Saturdays. So with that being said, Saturday is the first of the month. It doesn't count. Sunday is the second of the month. Also doesn't count. Monday, the 3rd, is the very first day rent is legally due. And Thursday, the 4th, would be the very first day rent would be legally delinquent. Got it? So for the month of April, we want to serve 3-day notices to pay rent or quit on the 4th for April. I'm trying so hard so that you guys understand, don't invite COVID. This isn't about getting the money. This is about getting possession. Okay. Big deep breath. Lots of new rules in the city of LA, the county of LA, LAHD, LARSO, DCBA. I mean, it's gonna keep coming at us. I am starting to compile a cheat sheet for me based by city, but I'm having to add as we go, and I'm having to make changes as we go. And it's a nightmare trying to figure it out. So bear with me, you guys. Maybe by 2025, I'll complete the list. I'm kidding, you guys. What I'm trying to say is it's going to take me some time. It's going to take me some time. Okay, here we go. Ivana, what do you got? I have my tenants pay rent through apartments.com, formerly Cozy. I think it was cozy.co, not .com, but okay, I'm with you. However, apartments can enforce the tenants to pay the full amount on the due date. Now we have the economic rent thresholds by LAHD. Is there an alternative way to collect the full amount of the rent on the due date? It's called a 12 gauge. Listen, I'm going to keep it, and I was being funny. I'm just joking. We can't force a tenant to pay the rent on the due date. We cannot. We can ask, we can request, we can play nice, but we can't force them to do anything, right? If they don't pay us the full amount of the rent by the due date, our recourse is to serve a 3-day pay rent or quit, start eviction. I love the question. Is there anything we can do to enforce them to pay on this day? Yeah, you can shoot them. It's not legal.
Patty, I have a questions.
Yes, and I was being funny. Please
I
take
know,
that out.
I laugh here. Don't worry.
Okay.
I know you. So Patty, if they don't pay the full amount of the rent, they only pay, for instance, the rent that they're paying is supposed to be $1,300 for 2-bedroom and 1 bath. It's really below fair market. So if they pay only $500.
Isn't this garbage? Isn't this garbage? Okay. So under the low medium rent, what that is, in my opinion, is it's a forced savings account for the tenant at the landlord's expense. Okay. Why am I saying that? Because it says if you have a studio, the rent has to be above this amount before you serve a 3-day. If you have a 1-bedroom, it has to be above this amount. I want to say the 1-bedroom is $1,488. You guys don't quote me to these prices. I do not have my cheat sheet in front of me. This is going off My blonde brain. A 2-bedroom is $2,222. I know that because that's the number. If I was going to pick one to remember in my database in my brain, that's the one I chose because a 2-bedroom unit is probably most common. Okay, so you have to wait until you're $2,222 or more in the rears before you can serve a 3-day under this new rule. It's called market rent. Okay, you guys paying attention? What that is going to force us as landlords to do is raise that so that we get it up to market rent, right? That's what we want to do so that we don't have to deal with this threshold. So the great idea from the powers that be are to force landlords to raise the rents higher. Cause and effect. Why would they think we wouldn't bring our properties up to market value as quickly as possible if they gave us a threshold and we were under it? We should be glorified for keeping our rents under market value and doing a justice to our tenants, but we're not. They're holding our foot to the fire and using it against us. So let's talk about this market rent because I really want to put in perception what I think, okay? If I lived in LA and this governed me and I was a tenant, I would know that my landlord could not touch me until I was $2,222 behind. That means I could have Christmas for my kids and pay it back slowly over the course of the year. And you can't touch me. I could go on a cruise and spend $2,100 and still be under the threshold that you can't touch me until I'm more than $2,222 in the rears. So as a savvy tenant, wouldn't I use that to my advantage? It's a forced savings account at the owner's expense. You call it whatever you want. But I'll tell you right now, I would use that as a tenant to go on vacation and not pay my rent. Just saying. Understand? Does that click? We see cause and effect, but put yourself in that position. If your mortgage company couldn't touch you, couldn't foreclose, couldn't kick you out, couldn't do nothing, can't even serve you a notice. Did that click? Is that making sense? Is that coming full circle? They already do it in the month of December. Let's face it. For the most part, tenants don't pay rent in the month of December so they can have Christmas. And then in February, they make up for it when they get their income tax refund. Cause, effect. It's just what happens. Us as professional property managers know this. And we wait until March and then we start the eviction process if they haven't paid in full by then, because we know the game they play. They miss December, pay January, pay February, and they're still holding on to December's rent until they get their income tax refund. Simply said, it's what happens. Cause, effect. If you were forced to give me, your tenant, a savings account of $2,222 because I lived in a 2-bedroom unit, I guarantee you that I'd always be $2,221 behind. Does that make sense to you guys? Ding! I hope it does. Okay. I got questions coming in. Let me put my glasses back on. Yep. So we talked about the economic thresholds for LAHD and my opinion of how they're going to bite us as landlords. Not to mention the fact that we got to wait, but as soon as tenants get wind of this, they're going to force you to become a savings account for them so they can go on vacation, go on a cruise, whatever. Tenant thought he had bugs and moved out. He called me 2 days later, also mentioned roof is leaking 6 days after rain. Does he not live there anymore, Linda? If he doesn't live there anymore and he's surrendered possession, then I would do the disposition of security deposit and end that. And if he moved out with all these problems, rather than fighting you, suing you, holding your foot to the fire, take that into consideration.
No, he hasn't moved out. He just moved to a motel and all of his possessions are still in the house.
And he's demanding you do what?
He was demanding I get rid of the bugs, but there were no bugs.
Okay, and you have an exterminator that put that in writing for you?
Well, I'm waiting for the report, but the exterminator said there is something wrong with my tenant. So come to find out, I did post this a minute ago. He actually has a skin condition, which and I posted the bug picture he gave me on Reddit, and people are saying that it's not a bug. It's most likely somebody detoxing from a drug addiction, and the bugs are imaginary.
Yes, it usually comes after the detox of methamphetamines and heroin.
Yeah,
I know that from the crime-free housing programs that I take and teach. So with that being said, I want you to look at this as one condition only. Do you understand?
I do.
You need to look at this as a mental disorder, because drug addiction and recovering from drug addiction is a protected class in state of California. And if your tenant really is fighting the demons of battling a drug addiction and coming off of a drug addiction, and they're going through all of those things, I wouldn't add fuel to the fire for somebody that's battling demons like that.
I agree with you completely. He's very kind and very nice to me and not a problem for me.
Life is happening to him right now. Try to be supportive as you can, but don't let it steamroll you. Okay?
Okay.
And
Well,
that's me talking. In other words, don't let it push you around. Stand your ground, but don't chase ghosts.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm wondering if there is problems in the house. There's mold on the surfaces. His windows need to be fixed, and there is a leak in the roof. So if he has to move temporarily for the repairs, what do I owe him?
I'm going to have to look at what governs you. If you're governed by LAHD, then what you have to pay is $207 per day plus $66 per adult and $33 per day per child for incidentals and meals. That's off the top of my head. If you're not governed by that, then it would be the daily per diem amount. So it just depends on where you are and what's going on. Okay.
I'm just in LA County.
And you're not governed by LAHD?
I don't know what that is.
Are you in an unincorporated city of LA?
No, it's in Bellflower.
So you're incorporated.
Yes.
It's going to be a daily rent credit, plus you want to give monies for food and for laundry if required. So reimburse up to $15 per meal per person per day, including infants.
Okay.
Okay. That's off the top of my head, girl.
Okay, thank you so much. I
no worries.
Sad for him, and yeah, I understand completely. He's not. He doesn't seem to be a problem in the community.
Well, as nicely as I could say this, people, and please pay attention to what I'm saying. Drug addiction or drug use problems happen in 1 in 10 Americans. So the chances of us all knowing somebody that fights an addiction problem or has some sort of an addiction problem are very high. It's sad to know that the ratio of infected people or affected people by drug addiction is 1 in 10. Please remember that includes alcoholism. Okay, so drug and alcohol addiction, 1 in 10 Americans suffer from it. No joke.
That's a
So
bad comment. Thank you.
yeah, so just keep that in mind, please, when you're battling something like this. And I'm fortunate enough, I don't have that issue, and it has even dodged all three of my children. I don't know how. I don't know. It's by the grace of God, okay? But I have dodged having to deal with that on a personal level. I have friends that I've watched deal with it and face plant from drug and or alcohol addiction. I know other family members, but my immediate family, we dodged a bullet. I don't know what else to say, you know? I was not affected by it, but I do respect and acknowledge that it is a huge problem in our country, and I try to be understanding of it. I'm going to switch gears now. Sorry. Roadrunner. Hello, my Roadrunner girls. San Bernardino County. That's them. I have a tenant who reported rats in the attic. The property owner wants to know, is this a tenant responsibility since there were no rats when they moved in a year ago? Okay, pay attention. Send vector control. Vermin, which can be rats, anything, fleas, bed bugs, they're considered vermin in the eyes of the court. They are a habitability issue. Okay, so I want you to think of it like bed bugs. Okay, if the tenant brought them in, then the tenant has to pay to eradicate them. If the tenant is encouraging their behavior by improper housekeeping, then that would be an expense that would fall on the tenant. If there's holes in the exterior of the property and they're gaining access because the owner definitely needs to do something, then the owner needs to do something. Understand? Fix the problem, have the exterminator identify the cause, and then make your assumption over who's responsible for the expenses. It is a habitability issue. Rent is not owed until it is corrected. Linda, rest of message above. I do owe him reparations or money for the hotel when he has a skin problem or rash, not bugs. Can you remind me of the LA County? Oh, we just talked about that. Okay. Sorry, blonde. Val, hi Val. Doesn't she have 30 days to fix, or does she need to pay this creep from day one? It's a habitability issue. So he doesn't owe rent until it's corrected. So whenever it's a habitability issue, I have one theory. It goes like this. Fix it today. Don't wait for tomorrow. If they don't owe rent, my hair's on fire. I want to go. I am not giving back rent. I don't want to. I want to add more rent. So with that being said, when there is something that's a habitability issue, I try to run, and get that addressed as quickly as possible. I really do have a theory. It goes like this. If it's a habitability issue, fix it yesterday. Don't wait for tomorrow. No rent is a huge deal when you're collecting money for other people. It's even bigger when it's your own. Just saying. It's even bigger when it's your own. Don't forget that. City of Pasadena, I already want to scream. Don't ask me anything else. I'm done. City of Pasadena was enough. Fourplex, is there a remodel eviction allowed? I have a tenant that would have about 65,000 in renovations with permits. I have to look under measure H, measure H, like hospitality. That's what governs Pasadena. Last time I checked, it was not signed off on yet, but it is supposed to take effect on 4/1. So I will check into that, see where we are with measure H, if that's been approved. If that has been approved, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to figure out how much the relocation fees are for you to terminate without cause. You could, don't shoot the messenger, don't shoot the messenger. You could have to offer them 5 months of rent plus $2,000 if they have minor children or are over the age of 55. So with that being said, we want to approach this with caution and make sure that we do everything by the new rules. When I checked last week, They weren't signed off on yet, so they're not rules yet. They're just kind of a dark cloud hovering over us. It's hard for me to tell you guys, you got to go do this and you got to go do this and you got to go do this because it's not law yet. They may pass it tomorrow at 5 p.m. and then we'll have to implement it by Monday. So be ready for that, okay? But I haven't checked this week, I'm being honest. It's been a little busy for me. Yesterday was a sitcom from, oh God, if my day yesterday was made into a movie for 2 hours, you would laugh till you cried. It was bad, bad. Like, and you know what the cause of it was? Me. It was all self-inflicted. I now know the meaning of having a bad day, and it carried all day long. All day. I was so glad when I got up this morning and the sun was up and I got to try again because yesterday sucked. Not completely and totally, but yeah, it was quite the challenge. City of Pasadena, you have about 6, we can look at it. I can look at it, call your law firm, talk to your law firm. You guys, when you're asking me about these new laws, I have no problem giving you an idea, but I really want you to check with your legal counsel to make sure you have a full understanding before you jump. You got it? When you execute a new rental agreement and or a lease for an Larso rental, should the lessor issue the lessee a disclosure regarding their 3-day right to cancel? It's in their written contract. And 3-day right of refusal and the right to cancel doesn't apply in residential dwellings. Only in commercial leases. Are you squeezing your butt cheeks right now, Anna? I gotta ask. And then I'm gonna tell you this, okay? So pay attention. In Larso, you cannot change the terms of the tenancy without written consent of the tenant and you. Okay, unless it is for a deposit increase, a rent increase, or your attorney's fees clause. Those are the 3 things you can change in Larso without your tenant's permission. The other thing you can do under Larso, and I'm talking about city and county, so pay attention, is mandated disclosures, meaning mold disclosure, lead-based paint disclosure, AB 1482 disclosure, things that are required by law, okay? So when you're doing a Larso contract, you want to put everything in it hello, because the chances of you being able to make a change later are slim and none. And the reason I say that is because the tenant has to sign and agree. And if you think for a minute that the tenant is going to sign and agree to anything that puts more responsibility on them, you are sadly mistaken. Your place to do that is at inception, at hello. You can't go back and change it later. You can't go back and ask them to have renter's insurance consistently later. It doesn't work that way. It's all got to be done at hello. Okay. Okay, Teresa, we're still going. City of LA, bugs 1 or 2 bugs in tenants units. Unit built in 2003, tenant running a sock mail order business is always getting boxes sent to the house. I got this. I know what's going on. Do I have to keep it up or can I make him pay for bug gel? I only run bug. I got a question. Does he have permission to run a business out of his house? Because having permission to run a business out of your house makes you responsible for the things that go on with that business, and him accepting stock from somewhere else could bring in bugs, absolutely. For those of you that don't know, cockroaches love cardboard and they love cardboard boxes. So they tend to hide a lot in shipping containers. Remember that next time you guys order something from Amazon, okay? Are there relocation rules for City of San Diego? Not at this time, with the exception of AB 1482. So statewide rent control relocation fees. But I didn't see anything else for the City of San Diego, but I also haven't looked at the City of San Diego. The City of San Diego runs like the City of LA. One more thing. San Bernardino County, a property owner has served a notice to terminate tenancy. Yeah, because they can do that. Single family home. The tenant is telling me that he's not leaving on that date. Would you suggest starting eviction now? Roadrunner, has the notice expired? Because I can't start eviction until the notice expires. Okay. Okay. Got to wait for the notice to expire and then you can evict. After April 1st, do we still need to abide by AB 1482? Absolutely. AB 1482 is now known as the Tenant Protection Act, also known as California Civil Code 1946.6. So what I'm trying to tell you, Linda, is that Assembly Bill became a civil code. It's not going away anytime soon, and it is in place until 2030 right now. So it is a temporary law until 2030, but they gave it a civil code. If they gave it a civil code, do you think it's temporary? Yeah, I don't either. Just saying. I don't think it's going to be temporary. They gave it a civil code. Come on. LA City built skip only 30-day notice to raise rent, no increase since 2017. Can I raise rent 10% with a 30-day notice to change the terms of tenancy to raise rent? He also is using the rent. I don't know what that means. Parking space with a new big truck that won't fit anywhere, 2 separate notices. Gee, I don't remember. It's been going on. Okay, Teresa, pay attention and don't shoot the messenger. LA City, no rent increases until February of 2024. Got it? No increase, none. No 10%, no 2%, no nothing. Okay, period, end of report. Now, if he's using his parking space to park a big new truck that won't fit anywhere, that's going to be a different issue. Okay. Attack that way. Forget the rent increase. You can't do it. In Larso, can you ask them to increase their renter's insurance liability upon renewal since they now have a dog? Can you do a new month to month and charge a pet fee after February of 2024? No. Arlene, you're never going to be able to charge a fee for anything, not pet rent, not a month-to-month fee, not anything unless they're additional services. Okay. In Larso, you can't have any additional expenses to the tenant, including renter's insurance. Got it? So I can't ask them to get renter's insurance if I didn't originally put that in the lease contract. So asking them to update or increase their liability, I'm going to say you're going to have a hard time doing it. They're both going to have to sign and agree to it. And I'm just saying this out loud. Hear me? Hi, I'm a tenant right now. Do you think that I'm going to sign anything that's going to cost me more money? If you do, you're sadly mistaken. Think about it. Would you? Would you? No, you wouldn't. So don't expect me to. Okay? Deep breath. Oh God, you guys really are sending the questions. Roadrunner said, tells me, damn it. Sorry, you guys. If you ask me a direct question, I'm going to give you a direct answer. Don't shoot the messenger because you don't like the answer. Okay. For 7 years or so, he doesn't follow AOA rental agreement. He's on a monthly rental agreement. He ignores everything, but he does pay $2,300, which is under market value, and I want to raise the rent. If you're in Larso, you can't do a rent increase until February of next year. No joke. So take a deep breath and buckle up because your hands are tied. And I understand that he doesn't do everything on his rental agreement. You may want to consider attacking, but you're going to have to talk to an attorney first on how you attack. It's very, very convoluted on what's retaliatory in LA City, especially under Larso. So you got to be really careful, really, really careful. You might suggest everyone change their rental agreements to one that includes AB 1482. I love you, Val. I'm going to teach you guys something right now, right here, right now. Pay attention, okay? If you're renting a property and you reach into your desk drawer and grab your blank lease contract, because I know what you guys do. I am you, don't forget. We reach in our desk drawer, we grab the blank month-to-month rental contract, we pull it out and we start filling it out, right? We grab that right where? Where do we grab that from? Out of our desk drawer, out of our file. In the bottom of the front page of your current rental contract, in the left-hand corner, there's a revision date. And it says revised, and it may say 12 of 2020. That means that that contract doesn't have any new laws on it from December of 2020 going forward. Just to tell you guys, today is February and we're in 23. So you're using a contract that doesn't have any legal updates on it for 3 years. What'd you say, Patty? Wait, can you say that again? Whoa, Patty, slow down. What are you talking about? Your car forms, your AGLA forms, your CAA forms, all of your lease documents, folks, have a revision date on the bottom left-hand corner. It says revised, last revised, okay? You should be pulling a new contract from your apartment association, from wherever you're getting your documentation from, each time you create a new rental. That way, it has all the new laws on it. I had somebody tell me yesterday, just yesterday, in my very bad day, I've been using the same contract since 2001. And I said, really? And I pulled it out and I looked at it, and sure as shit, the last revision date on it was from 2001. And I looked at the landlord and I said very calmly, do you think the laws have changed since then? Because they're not reflected in this document if they did. Do you think that's hurting you or helping you? I'm just curious. Each time you have a new rental contract to do, pull a new rental contract from your source, from the CAR, from the CAA, from AGLA, from whoever you're getting your documentation from. You need to pull a new contract and check that revision date in the bottom. Because you do not want to pull out a lease contract in court that was last revised in 2003 and you moved them in 2022. It's not going to have any of the laws regarding bed bugs, lead-based, well, it'll do lead-based paint because that started in 1978. But it won't have bed bugs. It won't have the Tenant Protection Act. It won't have all the laws that you need to disclose. Megan's Law. You want me to keep going? There's a bunch of them in there. You guys know. I don't have to tell you. Okay? Got it? That's how you make sure you're covering your asset to the best of your ability. Pull a new contract from wherever you're getting them from, CAR, CAA, AGLA, whatever it is, AOA, wherever. Don't go into your drawer. Do not pull an old contract out of your file and use it for a new contract. It's garbage. It's toilet paper. Don't do it. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Val. Every single one of your written rental contracts needs to disclose AB 1482. And if it doesn't, you have a bigger problem because that law passed in January 1st of 2020, 3 years ago. Get with it, guys. Come on. He's using your extra parking space. Tell him that you can't have him in that extra space. And if he continues to park there, you will have his vehicle towed. And I would go to the tow truck company in your area because they only work in a 10-mile radius and have them come post the property with the tow laws for your area. That way, if they're parked in your spot, you can call the tow truck company and they can come tow his vehicle, period. Can you run over the items for which we need to get a tenant consent for lease changes? Anything under LARSO, anything. Anything under LARSO, unincorporated county or city of LA. Got it? Everything except a rent increase, a deposit increase, or your attorney's fees clause. Those are 3 things you can do without the tenant's permission under LARSO. So city of LA or LA unincorporated. Can I do a change of terms of tenancy on him for an extra parking space, a separate parking agreement, or charge for an extra parking space? Yes. Tow his vehicle. Tow his vehicle, Teresa, no joke. He cannot park there. If it's in his lease that that's not his parking space and he's parked in there and you tow him away, nothing he can do about it. I have a no pet policy at my building. Why, Anna? They're gonna bring him anyway. And I know you're in LA, otherwise I'd tell you, what about pet rent? But that's a thing of the past. I have a no pet policy at my building, so there are no designated area for pets at this building. Recently, I was required to accept a large dog as a comfort animal at this building. Now the tenant is using the side yard to allow his dog to defecate. Am I required to allow this and continue? And who is responsible for the maintenance of this behavior? Currently, he is clearing the defecation, but eventually there will be odors and residue. Not a whole lot you could do about odors and residue. If it starts killing the grass, you can do something about it. And as long as he cleans it up, it's not a problem. I know you don't like it, Anna, but you're going to have to allow it. Arlene, I don't keep blank hard copies. I download each new lease or form. Good girl, Arlene. Good girl. I don't do it either, but I realize a lot of our little mom and pops do that, and I want to make them stop. It's a very bad business practice. Teresa, my LA tenant also, I saw marijuana cigarettes, ashtray, marijuana gummies, a gas barbecue on the balcony against my AOA agreement from 7 years ago. Can I do a change of terms or put a new monthly agreement on him? Okay, paying attention, Teresa? Oh, let me go a little, I already have a sign up posted to tow. Can I give him a new rental agreement with these new laws? I already had a no smoking, no barbecues on balconies, etc. Okay, Teresa, let me try something with you, okay? Why in the hell would you do a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy if those are already your rules? You would do a 3-day cure or quit because they're in violation of the rule. Got it? Curable breach of covenant, also known as a cure or quit. If he's not allowed to have a gas barbecue on his balcony and it's in his rental contract, you would serve a 3-day cure or quit to remove the gas barbecue. If they have marijuana gummies and they have marijuana cigarettes, I can tell you this, marijuana is just as legal as beer is. So are you allowed to have beer in your refrigerator as a tenant? Can you have marijuana gummies sitting on your counter? Can you have marijuana cigarettes sitting in your house? No smoking means no smoking of anything, not of crack, not of fentanyl, not of marijuana, not of cigarettes, not of sage, and not of meat. Non-smoking means non-smoking of anything. And the only issue that can come about is if they request to smoke sage for religious purposes. Trying to get your head wrapped around things, okay? Keep photos, especially since the dog will certainly ruin the grass eventually. Yep, Val knows. Keep timestamp on photos. Yep, Val knows. Maybe if you need to hire a lawn maintenance company, that would be considered a new service. She can't have any new expenses to the tenant because she's in Larceau though, Val. But you definitely want to keep photos and you definitely want to keep an eye on that grass, and eventually he will ruin the grass. And when he does, you're going to charge him for it. You can't stop him from doing it, but you can charge him for it. Got it? Indoor air intrusion of marijuana, anything ruins building. Yep. But if they just have it in their possession, it's as illegal as having rum, tequila, gin. I mean, come on. I went into crime-free housing training and they had a bag of marijuana in the police department. They're like, yeah, we have a bag of marijuana. It's not illegal. It's not illegal anymore. And get ready, because psychedelic mushrooms are another thing that's not illegal. And I could tell you why they made them not illegal. And it's not what you think it is. City of Monrovia, a tenant asked to have a dog as a pet and I declined as per his car lease. I found a dog in the yard yesterday. Cure or quit, David. Unauthorized pet. If they say it's an emotional support animal and provide you a doctor's note, there's nothing you can do but say thank you. Don't need tenant consent for rent increase, deposit increase, and you mentioned attorney's fees. For changing attorney's fees, you don't need tenant consent. Correct. Listen to me, Jay. In Larceau, any agreement that you agree with the tenant mutually after the original lease contract, the tenant needs to mutually agree and sign that they agree in any agreement going forward after that, except for a rent increase notice, a deposit increase notice, or you doing a 30-day notice of change of terms regarding your attorney's fees clause that's in your lease contract. Those are the three things under Larceau that you do not need tenant consent to perform. It's in the gravel area. We're all trying to help you. I hope you know that. Still take pictures of the gravel area, because if he leaves feces in there over time, then you're gonna ding him for it. My old tenant agreements don't have those new laws, AB 1482. Should I give new agreement? If you didn't disclose 1482, you already had to do it if you wanted an exemption. You had to do it between the months of January of 2020 and July of 31st of 2020. If you did not disclose by July 31st of 2020 that you were exempt from AB 1482, then you have it for that tenant. For that tenant. Not for all your tenants, for that tenant. When that tenant vacates and a new tenant moves in, you then can disclose exemption. But if you failed to disclose exemption in 2020, you have rent control for the tenant that's in possession currently. You can't change that. You can't fix that. You can't make it go away. The tenant in possession has protection from AB 1482 if you failed to disclose by July 31st, 2020. Okay, it's not a big deal. When that tenant moves out and a new tenant moves in, then you can claim exemption again if it applies to you. Okay, but not until then. You can't go backwards and try to undo what you didn't do. It doesn't work that way. Okay, got a couple more things and then I'm going to get out of here. What is this sage smoking for religious purposes? Some people, Jay, just so you know, burn sage and it's for religious purposes, if you will. Some religions believe that burning sage, and forgive me if I don't quote this properly, this is not my religion and I'm not trying to disregard anybody else's beliefs or practices, okay? That's me trying to cover my own asset right now. But I believe that some religions burn sage to ward off evil spirits or chase away bad spirits or things like, so they do a sage burning, it's a cleansing. They do it at the north side of the property, the south side of the property. If they're doing it for religious purposes, it's probably going to be allowed. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And that's all I'm saying. But other than that, non-smoking means you can't smoke nothing. I'm still thinking about that unwanted dog. What if the neighbors complain? If they get complaints about noise, if they get complaints about aggression, then they can ask them to exchange that dog for a different dog that isn't aggressive, okay? I will. I have more questions, but this situation, can a tenant that got approved for a reasonable accommodation request for an ESA animal be allowed to take their ESA inside other tenants' apartments to visit, or living at the same complex that has no pet policy in a LARSO building? Yes. Yes, they can, Anna. Anna, are you there? Stop thinking about it as an animal and think about it as a wheelchair and ask yourself the same question. Can a tenant that uses a wheelchair use his wheelchair to go visit other tenants? He can. He can. Got it. Take away the ESA animal and re-ask yourself the question using the analogy that that is a wheelchair. And the reason that I say that is because it's an assistive device for a disabled person, just like a wheelchair. So if you can answer the question in the equation with that animal being a wheelchair instead, chances are you'll be able to answer your own question. Okay, and that's just me talking to you. It's a great way for us to answer our own questions, is just think about it. What if that was a wheelchair, not a dog? Okay, if it was a wheelchair, could a resident that was disabled and using a wheelchair utilize that wheelchair to go visit other residents? Yes, they could. It's an assistive device for a disabled person, similar to a wheelchair. Okay, that's why I use that analogy with you guys. Just think of it as a wheelchair. You'll answer your own question, because you will. You may not like it, but you can answer it. So yes, they can do all of that. I would also like to know if the agreement that was signed to allow the ESA animal indicates no one will be left alone or outside the unit, but it is left alone. Can I issue a 3-day to cure? Yes, you can. Those new rules and laws you're talking about, City of LA, not RSO. I'm under LA RSO. Under LARSO, you cannot change. That's what I was talking about. Those new rules and laws you are talking about, City of LA, not RSO. I am under LARSO. LARSO, city, is exactly what we're talking about changing the rules. You guys can't do a 30-day notice at change of terms and make them be responsible for paying for insurance. Not under LARSO. No additional expenses to the tenant. So you got to be very, very careful when you're under LARSO. You can't just, you got to do everything at hello. I know a woman who provides Sage services as her full-time job. I even had an agent hire her before I sold a fourplex. So see, it is a thing. It is a religious thing, right? I'm not crazy. Burning sage is a religious thing. I had a lady once. I'm going to share you a story right out of Widget's world. I had a lady once, she called, she moved in recently. She's like, Patty, and she had a very heavy Hispanic accent. So it was really hard for me to understand her. And that had to do nothing but the language barrier. She kept telling me that she had guts in her unit. Guts? I have guts in my unit. I have guts in my unit. Are you messing with me? We all got guts. No, I have guts in my apartment. I have guts in my apartment. I have guts. You have to do something about the guts. So I actually had to go get somebody to talk to her in Spanish because I couldn't understand her. And I was trying. I really was. And I know some Spanish. I got la renta. La renta. Cerveza, margaritas. Yeah, okay. So I had somebody talk to her. Come to find out, the tenant was convinced that when she moved in, a ghost moved in with her. And she wanted me to eliminate the ghosts from her unit. I thought she was saying guts. She had guts in her unit, not ghosts, okay? Guts. That's what I was hearing. And it wasn't clicking. She meant ghosts. Usually people don't complain that they have ghosts in their rental property, but this woman did. So, being the Patty that I am, I told her, don't worry, I won't charge you for those unauthorized occupants. She didn't think it was as funny as I did. Sorry. So she actually wanted my permission to allow her priest to come over and do a sage burning ceremony and something else. It was something else they wanted to do. And all I needed to do was, with holy water. It was holy water, a sage burning, and something else. And I said, of course I give you permission to do that. Why wouldn't I? It's a religious issue. You guys got it? Okay. Guts, ghosts. Two totally different things. Sorry. I thought it was humorous, but I am blonde and Patty can find humor in the strangest things. The sage process was not only to clear evil spirits, but bring in positive spirits at a higher price. I love you, Val. In Christian belief, burning of sage is to purge a person of ill, was regarded as a sin. Okay, so you guys agree with me. This is great. I'm excited. You guys agree with me that when you say no smoking, it means no smoking of anything, okay? Not crack, not weed, not marijuana, not cigarettes, not methamphetamines, not sage, not meat. Non-smoking means non-smoking of anything. The only thing I would allow would be smoking of sage for religious purposes. Because if I don't allow them to smoke sage, am I discriminating against a religion? Absolutely. Got it? I'm hoping it clicks. I'm trying. Okay, so you guys all understand smoking of sage is most likely a religious practice and would be allowed because we can't discriminate against religions. That's what that is. But other than that, non-smoking means non-smoking of anything. No smoking crack, no smoking methamphetamines, no smoking marijuana, no smoking meat. I have a new smoker and I smoke my own meat. And I would be relatively upset if I was told that I couldn't smoke my own meat anymore. Can you say non-smoking on the premises? Not even in the yards outside of the house. Ha. No smoking within the interior walls of the premise or on property. Does that mean they could smoke outside in the driveway? Yep. Can you do anything about it? Nope. And you do not want to advertise your building as being smoke-free. It is a bad business practice. You can advertise that this is a non-smoking unit or a non-smoking community, but you do not use the words smoke-free. Got it? This is a smoke-free community. This is a non-smoking community. Absolutely, all day long. Don't use the word smoke-free. Okay? Everybody got that? Non-smoking is okay. Smoke-free is bad. Don't use that terminology, because when the neighbor's house catches on fire and smoke blows over your property, you're no longer providing a smoke-free premises, and you're in violation of your own statements. Non-smoking, not smoke-free, okay? If you say you have a smoke-free community and you allow barbecues, do you think you'll get sued and challenged? Absolutely. Make sense? Do not use the word smoke-free. It's a bad business practice. It leaves you susceptible to unwanted litigation and potential liability. All right, you guys, I'm going to end this for today. Unless you guys desperately need something else, you know how to find me. I am here for you. And I'm going to end this. Thank you. You have to have a sense of humor in this industry. If you don't, it's very depressing very quickly. I have a great sense of humor in this industry. I try to find the humor in it because it is a very depressing industry to be involved in. No joke. And if you can't find the humor in it, you're going to have a bigger problem. Seek the humor. Trust me. Find the humor. David, AOA has a smoke-free addendum. It should be a non-smoking addendum. It's not smoke-free. What happens if the neighbor's house catches on fire and the smoke blows over the top of your property? You think your tenants might try to sue you? I do. Smoke-free is a bad business practice. Non-smoking, much better. Non-smoking means you can't smoke anything. I hope little lightning bolts are firing off in your head and this makes total sense to you. And I'd say something about AOA, but I just can't. No problem. If you guys need anything else, hunt me down. I'm here to help you. Otherwise, I will be back on here next Wednesday and we will talk about what's happening after the county's restrictions have lifted. Because let's face it, by the time I get on here next Wednesday, it should be April 4th. And no, it'll be the 5th, won't it? The 1st is Saturday, the 2nd Sunday, the 3rd is Monday, the 4th is, yeah, I won't be on until the 5th, unless you guys need me. And I'm going to try to go to AOA's trade show. So I'll see you guys there and I'll be at AGLA and I'll see you guys around. we're getting busy into a busy month of April and May, which is great for us. All right, you guys have a great week. I am getting off of here. Enjoy. If you need me for anything else, hunt me down. Bye, guys.